Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Now, as you may be able to tell, I'm a little bit sick, like my brother Wade from across the pond, but I did see a very interesting video from Wade and Sensei on the breakdown. Shout out to them. It was about whether Faze Sensei would face off against Salt Papi in the future. And I'm going to go through and break down some of the reasons why I think that is a very good fight and why it answers some of the questions that I had in that previous video, if you saw it, about Salt Papi. I know a lot of you loved that video. So I'm going to go through and break down some of the strengths of Salt Papi and Faze Sensei, as well as some of the weaknesses that both have, and then I'll be doing a prediction on who I think would win that fight should it ever happen. Let's go. So, starting off with the strengths of Faze Sensei. Obviously, Faze Sensei is a legend in the scene. He's been around for time. He's in the MMA scene. I believe he's been in the kickboxing community, and he is a pretty decent and well-established guy in the boxing community as well, at least the YouTuber crossover boxing community. So, what we know of him. What are his strengths? Well, he has good experience and knowledge of the game, not just boxing, but in the fight game in general. He's been in many fights, both amateur and professional, and he's looked okay in a lot of the fights that he's been in. Obviously, in all of the YouTube crossover fights that he's been in, I believe that he's won all of them. Even the Kenny fight, I know technically he lost, but I believe that he actually won that fight. So he's got good experience, he's got good knowledge, he's a teacher, we all know that. So we know that he has fundamentals and the IQ, the knowledge to be able to fight smart, to teach that to people. He must have an idea of how to pass that knowledge on. And we've seen he's been able to transition that into the boxing space itself, into the ring. He's tough. We've seen him take shots, we've seen him land shots, he's got power, we've seen him have good timing, his shot selection's good. He knocked he knocked overt flow out with some lead hooks or uppercuts to the liver. It was a liver shot, knocked him out. I know it was overt flow, but still to knock someone out with a body shot, it's pretty good. He's got good defense. We've seen against Kenny. Very good, absorbing the shots. Kenny being the longer fighter, establishing a decent jab. That is the one shot I will give Kenny credit for. He's got a very good jab. Sensei did quite well, was able to land his shots in there. We saw in the very first round of that fight, he landed a big right hand that had Kenny on shaky legs. Standing 8 count. Maybe a little early. I think if it hadn't have been stopped, we could have seen maybe a stoppage, an actual stoppage of the fight. But it is what it is. Kenny did what he did throughout the majority of the rounds, kept Sensei a bit on the back foot, but Sensei was able to sneak through and land a lot of those shots. Some good, clean left hand, right hands, good selection of shots, good movement around the ring, stays on his toes, in and out, good defense, composed, focused. He was very, this is something that we don't really see from some fighters. A lot of fighters, we saw Swarms looking out of the ring. I believe we saw, who was it? Tom Zanetti looking up at the clock. We've seen KSI even look out of the ring at his corner. In the space, you've got to be focused. Even Salt Papi. Salt Papi is known to showboat, but we'll get onto that. Sensei, when he's in the ring, is a one-track mind. He's on you. There's very little that brings him out of it. He's very focused, very linear, very absorbed into the fight, and that's good. That's what you want to be. It keeps you sharp, it keeps you on your toes, stops you from missing something. It's the shots that you don't see coming that hurt you. And if you see them all, if you're focused and watching everything that's going on, you're prepared for whatever is going to land. That's something I really like from Sensei. We've also seen good pacing from Sensei. He went the entire rounds with Kenny, I believe it was 4 threes. The entirety of the fight, it's not, unprecedented levels of rounds or time in the ring, but in that fight he shows decent pace and he didn't gas himself out in the very first few rounds. He said he wanted to go in there and have a war with Kenny. We didn't really see it, but he adapted his game well and did well to survive those rounds and, in my opinion, dominate them and beat Kenny round for round. And I think he did very well with the pacing of that. Now, on to Salt Papi. What are some of the strengths he has? Well. What can we say? At the moment, he is, as his name says, Super Salt Papi. He's lightning quick. We saw against Josh Brueckner, that left hand, the straight left. Very, very sharp punch, landed it, perfect accuracy, on the chin, down. Footwork. Salt Papi's one of the better guys with footwork in the space. Sensei isn't bad either, but Salt Papi's footwork, whether it's from the dancing TikTok side, I don't know, but his footwork is very good for the experience that he has. I know that he may have had prior experiences. Experience is up for debate. We're not too sure really how experienced Salt Papi is, but his footwork looks levels ahead of a lot of the guys, especially considering this is his third pro fight in the Misfits. Well, the YouTuber boxing space, I believe, 2 fights on Misfits and 1 fight on Showstar. But his footwork has looked levels above everyone else that has been in that third fight space, that category. In the first 3 fights, Salt Papi's shown better footwork. He's shown better pretty much everything in terms of technique. So what else does he have? He has spatial awareness, very good spatial awareness. His awareness of distance and range of the fighter is very good. He can judge whether someone's in range, and he can showboat and keep his hands down, and then when they're in range he can come up and keep his hands high. He can fire out from the hip, he can fire out from the chin. Very good, very good. His shot selection, like Sensei, is very good as well. We saw against Hillel Ham, he was throwing some hooks. Against Josh Brueckner, obviously, he dropped him with a straight left. Decent. I would like to see him land maybe more uppercuts, but that's something, it's only been his third fight, something down the line. Timing, like Sensei. That timing, like I said, on Josh Brueckner, with that straight left, perfect. Perfect. The accuracy, perfect. It was a great shot, a near perfect shot, really. Well, it was a perfect shot. Yeah, his timing, very good. He knows when to he knows when to fight. He's a counter puncher. He knows when he should stay on the back foot. He knows when he should clinch up. He knows when he should keep his guard, covering his chin. He knows when to land, when to throw, what to throw. He's very good at predicting the timing of the fight, what his opponent is going to throw, and interrupting that. That's what you want to see from a good counter puncher. That's what you see all the time. His ring IQ. People were commenting in the last video about his ring IQ. I have to give it to you. Yes, his ring IQ is very good. His knowledge of fighting is very good. His fight IQ is high. His boxing IQ is high. He's a very, very smart fighter. For as inexperienced as he is, however much that is, he is very knowledgeable about the sport. And so far he's made all of his opponents, we'll get on to the weaknesses later on, but he's made the opponents that he's faced, you have to beat the person who's in the ring with you, and so far he's made them look like bums, and that's a testament to his skill and also his knowledge, which he clearly has. Now, power. Salt Papi, Super Salt Papi, like Superman, has dynamite in his left hands. They're, unlike Superman, kryptonite for most other fighters. He uses his... It was interesting, I watched the Hillel Ham fight back, and Hillel Ham got rocked multiple times in that fight. Multiple times. So it's not just a recent thing that Salt Papi has developed. He's always had power. He's just building upon it. And with the weight that he carries and the build that he has, I think that he can land these shots, and if he can maintain that timing, accuracy, speed behind it as well, with his heavy hands, boy, I think that could make him one of the top power punchers in the space. Maybe not a KSI, maybe not a Jake, but up there. Definitely up there. Now, this is an interesting one. He likes to showboat. Now, you might think, well, showboating can be a weakness, and yes, we'll get onto that as well, but Vidal said in that Hillel Ham fight that showboating can be, he said arrogance, but I believe that goes into the showboating side as well. The arrogance can be the key for some fighters. Some fighters need the arrogance and to showboat in the ring to feel comfortable.
Yes. No, some people are at their best when they are arrogant. You know, arrogance is normally looked at as a negative thing or looked down on. Some people need it to really fuel them to the next level.
And I agree. I believe that is how Salt Papi remains calm. If unlike Sensei, he focuses entirely on the fight, then I think Salt Papi can get sucked in maybe to feeling the pressure, feeling the nerves. But I think by keeping it light-hearted, showboating, having fun in there, it keeps him loose and relaxed, and it allows him to stay away from the fight in a sense of he's not getting caught up in all of the pressure, all of the what's he going to throw, what am I going to throw, oh god, what is this? He just stays relaxed and he does what comes naturally, and it works time and time again. We've seen it every single fight, that same style, and he devastates his opponents. That is a strength. Now, also something that impressed me in the Halal Ham fight, head movement. There was a moment in the fight where he leaned forward and invited Halal Ham to take a punch. And he was in range, and I could tell he was in range, and Salt Papi could tell he was in range. Halal Ham threw the punch, Salt Papi rode it back. Not elite level head movement, but enough for me to say, yeah, this guy's got some idea of how to move his head. We saw him coming off the centre line, moving, showing him angles, another great strength of Salt Papi. Angles, cutting off the ring, showing different looks from the shots that he's throwing, different angles. It makes the shots a lot harder to block if you don't know which angle it's coming from. If I throw a shot here and I step and I throw another shot there and then I've stepped and I throw a shot up here, then you block this one, you might have blocked that, and then you block the next, but then this one wraps around the guard. So, we've talked about the strengths of Sensei, the strengths of Salt Papi. What are some of the weaknesses? Well, for Sensei, I watched pretty much all of the fights back that he's had in the YouTube boxing space. Against Kenny, he was slightly hesitant. I saw moments in there where he had a little bit of inactivity, just bouncing around, looking to throw a shot. And that is good. Yes, you don't want to throw and throw, punch yourself out and leave yourself open to something. You don't want to throw for throwing's sake. You want to actually throw to land something. But if you don't throw enough, well then you run the risk of losing the round. That could have been a major factor in why Kenny won the fight overall, because he was the aggressor. He actually put the pace on Sensei, and Sensei was a bit too nice, moving around. Don't get me wrong, I believe that Sensei won that fight, but it may have been a factor. I also saw in that fight that when he was on the inside against Kenny, he got caught up in the brawl too much. He said he wanted to go in there and brawl and have a war, but I saw that he was a bit defensively irresponsible when in there. The shots were a bit sloppier, he got into a bit of a hooking, head hitting, head hunting game. That could be something that he could really upend him against Salt Papi. An accurate, good timing, speed counterpuncher could really upend him, but we'll see. Now, something that they mentioned in that fight, the commentators, is Sensei slightly too nice. Possibly. He's a very lovely guy, is Sensei, and other than the overt flow, stoppage, I haven't seen much from him that suggests that he is a killer. We have seen that from Salt Papi. Salt Papi wants to go out there and hurt you if he can. And I think that's something that maybe Sensei would have to work on. His opponents also haven't been the best. Overt flow, obviously, in this space, not very good. A staple of the cards, it seems. He keeps coming back, but it's loss after loss. He's a bit of a journeyman boxer, even in the YouTube space, which is saying something. But against Kenny, he showed levels that I thought, yeah, he looks decent. He rocked him a couple times, I believe, especially in the first round with that beautiful right. And I think that if he was to get the chance to fight another upper echelon opponent, another credible guy in the space, that we could really start to understand where Sensei is, because that, I believe that might have been his first pro fight in the actual YouTube boxing scene. So he might need a bit more experience in that sense, because this is Salt Papi's third time fighting without head guards, which is a massive advantage in of itself. Now, I didn't believe I'd say this, but I'm going to question Sensei's chin. I said he was tough, but there was a video. Sensei's first ever pro fight, I believe it might have been a kickboxing fight, but in that, I think it was a left hook that landed and it knocked Sensei down. If that left hook can land and knock Sensei down, what would a Salt Papi left do? Oh, you don't know. I don't know. And that could be a factor that plays into the fight. How good is Sensei's chin? Have we seen it tested enough in the boxing space to say? Not for me. I don't know. I don't know, and I think if Salt Papi were to face Sensei, we would definitely see that tested. We would definitely see the chin tested. Now, Salt Papi's weaknesses likewise imitate a lot of Sensei's. You might have noticed that a lot of the strengths of Salt Papi were the strengths of Sensei. No surprise there. Both of them have decent boxing technique, an IQ for fighting, and a decent array of performances to back that up. So what are some of Salt Papi's weaknesses? Like Sensei, we haven't seen him against many credible opponents. The most credible being Josh Brueckner, who he destroyed within 2 rounds. But we saw Josh land a couple shots, land a few if the punches had more weight behind them, like maybe Sensei can do. We might have seen a different fight. We've also seen that Josh Brueckner against Chase D'Amour didn't look very good, really. So, how good is Josh Brueckner realistically? Does he look better than he is? I think so. So, until we see Salt Papi against a really good opponent, like a Sensei, we can't really say how high he is. It's definitely not number 1 above Jake, I don't think. Not yet. Not yet. Beat Sensei, that's a very big step towards getting there. Beat Sensei in a credible fashion, I think that's even better. Now, this is a different one, because I said I'd want him to beat Sensei in a credible fashion. That would mean knocking him out, you would believe. But I'm going to say that I haven't seen him go into the later rounds. I haven't seen his gas tank checked. The furthest he's gone is 3 rounds against Elle, and those 3 rounds were 2 minutes. So we've seen him go 6 minutes. That, in actual boxing, is 2 rounds. And sure, he was bigger there, and Elle is a big opponent, and you would imagine both of them don't have the best gas tank. But, rounds are important, and gas tank and cardio are vital for boxing. How does Salt Papi fare in the 6th round, in the 8th round? How does he fare? How does he cope? Questions. And I think Sensei would answer them. Likewise, I think he'd answer this question. How good is Salt Papi's chin/heart? We haven't seen his chin really tested. The furthest we've ever seen it is against Josh Brueckner. But those punches, like I say, they didn't have much oomph behind them. I didn't see anything that made me go, oh! I saw him get touched and hurt and stung slightly, but I didn't see a big shot that made me go, wow, Josh Brueckner has fists of steel. Salt Papi, on the other hand, he showed Josh Brueckner he very much does. He very much does. I think Sensei could test Salt Papi's chin like he did against Kenny, and I think with a referee that doesn't jump in as quickly, we could see a very testing time for Salt Papi in a fight. If he's able to weather a storm from Sensei, I think that would boost his credibility in the scene infinitely. Now, I said. Showboating can be a strength and a weakness. He likes to keep his hands low when he showboats. If he faces a fighter who can pressure him in a smart manner, stay defensively responsible and catch him clean, pressure him into the corner, cut the ring off, get him in and work on the inside. We've seen, this is another weakness that I've got here, that Salt Papi in that Josh Brueckner fight got a little bit sloppy on the inside. He did. His hands came a little bit low, he got caught a bit, tagged on the chin, something that you want to avoid. If someone can stay defensively responsible, land big powerful shots on the inside, cut the ring off, stop him from moving back, staying at range, Salt Papi is a counter puncher, but he likes to be at range to do it. He likes to be the one who can step in, step out. Step in, step out. If you smother him slightly, that gives him less chance to pick the shots that he's going to throw. That gives him less time to think about what he's going to throw, to look at the timing of the fights, because he's worried about covering up. And if you can cut the ring off whilst being defensively responsible, catching the shots, keeping the hands high, keeping the head off the centre line, working into the corner, landing big time shots, working from the body up to the head, I think that could be a very, very good test for Salt Papi and see where he is. So, all of this being said, who wins? Who wins that fight? Well, as Sensei said by his own admission, he is currently around £200, which would mean he'd have to come down about 25, 30 plus pounds to face Salt Papi, which would be a hell of a camp, a hell of a lot of training, a hell of a lot of preparation, and a hell of a lot of time to dedicate. He's got other things going on. Football, American football that is, and other things, other commitments that he has. So it would take him a lot of time to come down to face Salt Papi. Would it be worth it? Well, if the money was right, yes, obviously it would. I think that fight would be a massive, massive fight if it ever happened, so potentially it could. But it would be a lot of effort for Sensei. And another thing that Sensei doesn't have is activity. His last fight against Kenny was last August. Before that, I'm not sure, was it Overt Flow? Was that his last fight before Kenny? Because if so, that's a lot of time. And Salt Papi is fighting quite often. And if he continues to fight quite often, he has the ability to leave Sensei behind in terms of the ring experience. We saw Jake Paul and KSI. It started off when KSI was more experienced, now KSI is playing catch up to Jake. If that happens with Salt Papi, Sensei will always be playing catch up, something that will be detrimental when they fight. And I think that the inactivity of Sensei, if he were to come back, let's say this year, it would be around the Christmas, December time, when KSI says he'll fight Jake. But if that were to happen and he hasn't fought in the boxing ring before that, I think Salt Papi will get the win. I think they're both very evenly matched, and I think that is great. That's what we want to see. We want to see competitive fights. I want to see Salt Papi tested, and I think that Sensei can. And I think it will be the toughest fight that either of them have had. But will it happen? I don't know. We'll have to see. I really sincerely hope it does. But with the £200 that Sensei's packing, I don't know. That's going to be it from me, guys. Let me know who you think would win between Salt Papi and Sensei. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Please subscribe for more boxing content like this or other content. You can check out my channel and see what else I do. And comment down below anything else you'd like to see from me, any more boxing breakdowns, any more up and coming fighters. I've seen that iDubbbz, his event is going down, his second one. That looks to be a good event. I'll probably do some reactions, maybe breakdowns around that fight as well. Yeah, I will see you in another video. Hopefully I'll be a bit better next time in terms of feeling better. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you later, guys.